Okay, so it's Monday. The girls have packed these little goodie bags to give to their classmates because here at their school there's a tradition whereby if it's the person's birthday, they're bringing little goodie bags to hand out. Hi guys, it's Monday. It's a cleaning day, so I got my cleaning outfit on, and you'll notice that I got my lipstick on, and I even did my eyebrows just a little bit, but that was the extent of all the makeup that I could put on. But yeah, so based on yesterday, I really felt great after I put on, my lipstick and I put in a little bit of stuff on my eyebrows to do the photo shoot. I only did it for the photo shoot. But I felt really great afterwards. And I just remembered how much I like having a strong lip. So I've set myself a little challenge, which is that for this week, for the next 7 days, I'm going to put on lipstick every single day at a bare minimum. At first I was like, oh, I should put on makeup every single day. But then I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm too low maintenance for that. Read that as too lazy to remove the makeup at the end of the day, because that's the bit that I really don't like about makeup. So I just stuck with lipstick. I'm just going to put on a strong lip every day for the next 7 days. And I want to see how I feel about that, So I'm just calling it my self-titled a lipstick challenge. So today I put on lipstick to clean the house. Right, so today I'm taking a break from reading The Conscious Parent. So today I'm going to be reading, I just got this one, Heroes by Stephen Fry, and it carries on from Methos, which was a really amazing book. So today I'm going to be hanging out with Stephen Fry, and I'll explain why in just a second, but this is my audiobook today that I'm listening to. Okay, so I've decided that I'm going to give reading The Conscious Parent a break because it's very, very full on. There's so many truth bombs that get dropped in there. And I kind of, I feel like I need to process and absorb. And sometimes I do that with some books, especially the heavier reading books and especially the parenting books that, they aren't going to sugarcoat things for you. So sometimes I'm just a bit like, so I just don't feel like listening to it. I'm just going to have a break from it for the next couple of weeks or so. But I'm super excited to be listening to Stephen Fry's Heroes. And because I loved Methos so much, and I love anything that Stephen Fry reads, basically. I just love him. He's like a British national treasure. So that's what I'm going to be listening to probably for the rest of the holiday season, because it's an epic, I think it's about 10 hours long. So I'm super excited. So I'll catch you after hanging out with Stephen Fry for like 4 hours or so. Bye.
I don't know why, but all the fish seem to be huddled under the boulder. It's not sunny or anything like that. It's very curious. Very, very curious.
I've just noticed that I can only see 6 of the 7 fish. And oh, there it is. Thank goodness. The fish had me worried for a moment there. But it's okay. My little fishes are okay. It's a beautiful sunny day today. So the sun is streaming across the window, which is always a really nice thing. I have a shadow. Okay, so I thought that today, since the only fun thing that I'm doing is listening to an audiobook whilst I'm cleaning, I'm not going to bore you with all the cleaning stuff. I'm going to share with you 7 of my favorite books from 2019. So I use the Goodreads app to keep a track of my reading challenge. I sort of set myself a challenge as to how many books I want to read in a year, and then I try and hit that target. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's okay. But the nice thing about Goodreads is I can keep a track, and I make notes and I can keep my ratings and see which ones I liked. So here we go. So generally, I don't read a lot of fiction, but I did make a point this year to try and read a bit more fiction. And number one is The Forgotten Seamstress by Liz Trenol. Okay, I got attracted to it because it had the word seamstress in it. And I was also going through a phase in which I didn't necessarily have the time to go sewing, even though I really wanted to sew. So I was in a bit of an existential crisis where I was like, I really want to sew, but I'm not able to make it into the sewing cave. So I thought, okay, I get to read every night. So if I'm reading about sewing, that's kind of fulfilling my sewing mojo. And so I read this book. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Plus, it also touches on mental health illnesses amongst women. And this is set in the Edwardian era as well. So I'm not going to give you a spoiler, but I really did enjoy the book. Very much so that I did something I don't usually do. I went to try and find out a bit more about the author because I was pretty sure that she must be a seamstress within the sewing community. But it turned out that she isn't. But it's amazing. So The Forgotten Seamstress. And I read this as a copy on my Kindle. And then the next one is called The Murmur of Bees by Sofia Segovia. And it was originally written in Spanish and then translated to English. But I don't know if you've ever had the experience of reading a book that is so magical in how it transports you to a certain place that you wish you knew the original language that it was written in, because you know that it was translated. And if you're bilingual, like I am, I speak more than one language, I know that things get lost in translation somehow. And it really made me want to learn Spanish so that I could read the original for myself. It's a really beautifully written book, and it's by a Mexican writer, so it's got elements of magical realism in it, if you're familiar with that sort of genre of books. And it is such a beautiful, and it follows the story of this family, and it's a generational story of a family in pre-revolution Mexico. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I read that one on the Kindle. It's got some lovely cover art as well. Okay. And then number 3 is Cersei by Madeline Miller. Now, Cersei, I got attracted to it because it had this beautiful cover art. And I'm such a visual person. The cover art really does catch my eye. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but you can't help it if you're somebody who is visual. You know, I mean, if I do hear that a book is good and it's got a rubbish looking cover, I will read it. But generally, I do get attracted to the pretty covers. And Cersei is no exception. And thankfully, it's actually a really fantastic read as well. So initially, I got this on a Kindle and I started reading it on the Kindle. And we had to go to the Lake District, which meant we were going to be in the car a lot, as you do when you're on holiday, in the car. And unfortunately, I don't know what it's called, but I've got this thing where I can't actually read in a moving vehicle. So even if I'm on a train, on a bus, or in the car, I cannot actually read. I feel nausea when I do that. But I was like, hang on, I could get it as an audiobook. So then I also got it as an audiobook. And the entire time that we're in the Lake District, whenever we're in the car, I was just lost in the world of Oceanids and nymphs and Poseidon and Oceanus. And the woman who does the narration on the audiobook is amazing. I think her name is Perdita Weeks or something. But I enjoyed her narration so much. I was trying to find out what other books she has narrated so that I could go and listen to those as well. And here's another interesting thing that I found out. Now, I'm a voracious reader. I read a lot and I'm a speed reader as well. But I liked the fact that audiobooks forced me to slow down and listen to the book at the narrator's pace, number one. So I enjoyed that experience a heck of a lot more because I wasn't speed reading, right? And then number 2, I think as humans, oral tradition has been around longer than the written language. So I think we do tend to retain more of the things that we hear, because I was surprised at the level of retention that I got just from listening. And that was because the narrator was also really good. So I think it's also the combination of the narration and a really good story with audiobooks that work really well. And with Cersei, I felt the distinct difference from starting it off on the Kindle and actually listening to it. So in the end, I decided to go back and start right from the beginning with the audiobook rather than picking up from where I left off on the Kindle, because it felt like 2 completely different reading experiences. But I now definitely think I favor audiobooks more. But anyway, moving on to the next one, it's Methos by Stephen Fry. If you don't know who Stephen Fry is, go listen to some of his talks. He is an incredibly eloquent speaker. He is amazing. And when you listen to his stuff, you kind of feel like he's there having a cup of tea with you, except for not in your house, you're in Dorchester, you're in somewhere, posh. So yeah, love it. And Mythos is basically talking about the history of the gods, the Roman gods and the Greek goddesses. And I love those. I named most of my kids. Well, we did. We named most of our kids after the Greek and Roman goddesses. So yeah. Okay, so those are the sort of pseudo-fiction books on my list, and the next three are more of personal development / health. And the first one is another translated book, and it's called The Courage to Be Disliked, and it is by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. It was originally written in Japanese. And basically, they present this type of, it's called Adlerian psychology, which basically makes you more aware of where your boundaries of tasks are. And so you kind of have to ask yourself before you start worrying about whether you should fix somebody else's problem for them, whether that is your task or whether it's that person's task to figure things out for themselves, that sort of thing. It was incredibly, very deep and mind-blowing, and it is written in a Socratic way in which you've got the master teaching the student. So you have a student who comes to ask these questions, sort of saying, whoa, why are you saying this stuff? And so it's really fantastic. It's a bit of it took me longer to read because it's more of a deep dive kind of book. And I read this one on my Kindle. It never even occurred to me to get this as an audiobook, actually, although I might want to do that in the future, because sometimes when I like a book, I will reread it. Okay. And then book number 6 is called Gut, the Inside Story of Our Body's Most Underrated Organ by Julia Endes. Now, this book took me 9 months to read because it is packed with information. And if you're somebody who likes your scientific research to back up things, the woman who wrote this book, she's got a double PhD on the biochemistry of the digestive system. And so she is presenting all of the most up-to-date research at the time of the printing of the book. And it is amazing. And it was through reading this book that I supplemented my diet with prebiotics and probiotics, and they made such a huge difference to my general well-being as well. And there's a lot of research that's actually coming out now anyway, realizing and recognizing the important role that the gut bacteria plays in your life. And I think they call it the gut brain now. So this book is absolutely fantastic, but it's not the sort of book that you can kind of like just go, you really have to read it and process it. Amazing book. I read that one on the Kindle. I liked it so much, I bought the actual physical copy of the book because it's got a lot of these little illustrations and drawings. And yeah, so it's got the heavy stuff with all the scientific research and explaining the biochemistry of things. But it's also kept quite lighthearted with her doing like some little sketches to try and to try and make it more accessible. And it does. By the end of it, you do have a really good understanding of the importance of the gut to your overall physical health and mental health as well. Okay. And then the last one is called The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a, which I'm going to, call Giving a Heck. But you all know what I mean. It's the F word, right? And it's by Sarah Knight. And if you haven't seen it, she's got a TED Talk basically around the concept of this book. And, you can go check that out first before you check out the book. But I read this on Kindle. And this is amazing, because what she's basically proposing is that everybody has got a heck budget, which means it's the amount of hecks that you can give before you just get frazzled and you stress yourself out. And she's basically just saying, be careful what and who you give your hecks to, because those hecks are important, because it's your mental energy. Are you really going to give a heck over somebody who's just written a tweet about their opinion when everybody has got an opinion, that sort of thing? Are you? So it's really, really mind-blowing for me at the time when I read it. So I have to state that this one, it was a reread. So when I like a book, I will reread it again just to see if I can get some more stuff. And that's a fantastic book. And I think that does create some life-changing. But again, I just wanted to make a note that with all of these personal development books or self-help books and all that, you got to remember that You're not in it to take the whole 100% thingy. You know, some of them will only have like 10% of a good thing, and that's enough to change the needle in your life and all that. So you kind of have to cherry pick what works for you and what doesn't work for you from there. But I certainly found that the life-changing magic had quite a lot of things that I took away from there, and I realized that I was giving away my hex. I was kind of like, heck. But then I realized that I can save my hex, put them in a little savings box, and then I use them when they can make the biggest difference to the lives of my kids and my family and myself before I just start throwing them around. So that's my list of 7 books, 7 favorite books of 2019. And now it's your turn. I would love to know what your favorite books of 2019 are. I'm always on the lookout for good books to add to recommendations of books to add to my list of books to read. Until I see you tomorrow, which should be a much more exciting day because there isn't going to be cleaning. It's my planning and playing day. Okay, so very quickly before I sign off, actually, I wanted to show you something that I've just found so enchanting. So, as you know, it was recently my twins' birthday. And one of the things that they really wanted was this little thing called a Polly Pocket. And we got them. And I didn't realize how awesome they are. So they're these like really little tiny things, and you open them up. It's like a little house with a little dolly. And this one's got a little kitty cat and a little kitty carrier. And it even has like a little kitty pooper scooper thing. And it's so tiny. Look, I can have it in here. So when I found them this morning, I literally like spent 15 minutes just playing with this, like the inner child in me, who's called Brittany. My inner child's called Brittany, was just like, yay! This is the sort of thing I would have loved so much as a little girl. So anyway, I've just told my husband, can he get me one as well for my inner child? But yeah, it's just a little bit of a silly thing that I wanted to share.
Tonight we're going to be making some mac and cheese with bacon. First step is to fry the bacon. Okay, that's the bacon fried. And we're going to boil the pasta in salted water. And in the meantime, grate some cheddar cheese. Melt the butter. Add the flour. Let that cook for about a minute or so on low heat. I then take mine off the heat so I can add the milk before I put it back on the heat. Add the milk. And then I put it back on the heat once I've stirred in the milk. That stops it from clumping. And I just keep stirring while it thickens. A teaspoon of salt, tablespoon of mustard. This is the mustard that I use. This one that's like a yellowy paste. That's the nuts, is that. So after a few minutes, it does get nice and thick. I'm gonna add the cheese, but take it off the heat when you add the cheese, and then stir in the cheese until melted. So that's all the cheese melted in. And then the last thing is just a pinch of nutmeg. Oops, that was a bit more than a pinch, but that's fine. And then stir that in. The pasta is ready, the bacon is ready, the cheese sauce is ready. So now we're just going to assemble all of these and put them in there. Mix. And then you add the bacon, and we're going to mix that up. Sprinkle the cheese, and then this is ready to go into the oven for a few minutes. And the carrots are also ready. Oh, look at that crunchy top. And that's dinner tonight with some vegetables on the side.